Can we talk about Deep South?
Yeah.
Okay. So the way I look at you, Bill, is like you said how you looked at Kevin is kind of like the way I look at you. When I asked you a question back in the day, you didn't say, "Oh yeah, that flip was pretty." You didn't. You told me what I needed to work on. That's what a coach does. Football coach doesn't say great tackle. Football coach says you should have done this to make the
Right.
tackle even better. That's what a coach
Right.
does. And maybe it's because I'm 48. Maybe it's different to the guys who are 38, who are 28, who are 18. Like every 10 years, it seems like I'll say it. We get softer and softer, and we pacify, and we want a pat in the back. I want a kick in the ass. That's what I want when I ask for something. Did you run into a lot of that? Was that a downfall of yours in Deep South that maybe?
I think a lot of it, I think the thing that all those talent to this day, I think forget is that when you have a coach, they're not there. This isn't WCW. And Sarge had a reputation of breaking guys down in the power plant to where they wouldn't make it. Some people said Sarge was angry because he thought he deserved a better spot or whatever it was. He wasn't getting opportunities, so why should I train someone else? I'm going to make them fail. I didn't look at it that way. I looked at it, my job is to make you a star. If I do my job, you're going to do your job. If I don't do my job, I'm easily replaceable as anybody else. But I went into it as this is what I was told to do. I took my direction from the guy on top. The guy on top at the time was John Laurinaitis. Here's what we want. Make it happen. You lay out the platform. You lay out the format. So then it was complaining that they were there for 3 hours a day. 3 hours a day. Let's say $45K a year. You're in your bed every night. The other 21 hours a day are all yours. So as we progressed and the building got built and we started going, you know what? We have a gym that everybody's getting for free. Gold's Gym. Everybody meet me in the gym for an hour. Then we're going to train. Now we're complaining because they're overworked. Now we're complaining because this guy's doing better than me. We had some guys who had experience, some who had no experience. So they started to get to know each other. Things weren't clicking, little cliques were formed, this and that. Regardless, my job was always the same. The thing that I did wrong then was I tried to make everybody comfortable and still have the understanding of when it's time to work, we're going to work. So what you never heard was when talent didn't have enough money to pay the rent, they slept in the spare room in my house. When they didn't have enough money to eat the way they should eat, they came to my house for dinner. My wife cooked for them every night. Hey, the weekends off because we weren't doing live events or anything, just training Monday through Friday. The weekends were yours. Hey, I'm going to have a barbecue. Everybody come on over. Let's relax and just be normal people. But in wrestling terms, that always builds to something else. Well, this one had this against me and this had, and then all of a sudden now we know we can talk to people and OVW is a greater place because Al likes everybody and Al's the good cop and Bill's the hard ass drill instructor and why do we have to do this and why and this is what's expected and this is so and you had a guy in control of talent relations time, Tommy Dreamer, who loved everybody, wanted everybody to succeed and saw the good in everything. And tried to play devil's advocate against both sides. Meanwhile, I still have the guy over my head telling me to do it the way I'm doing it. So what do you do? So I decided to stay the course. Jody Hamilton at the time, rest in peace, didn't like the way they were doing it. So Jody was always bucking the system. Jody was always saying, I'll shut this place down and send everybody home. He owned the name Deep South, but he was being paid from WWE. I wasn't. I was being paid by Jody Hamilton.
Really?
So I'm getting my direction from WWE. So I got to answer to Laurinaitis and I got to answer to Hamilton.
Okay.
I can't please both sides.
Right.
And then as guys started to get opportunity, they started going, they learned, okay, let me go over his head. Let me go this way. Let me go say something to an OVW guy. They'll say something to someone else. and it gets back and forth. So then it got to the point where you had to tape everything you did 24 hours a day. I'm out sick. I'm out hurt. Oh, at one time we had half the roster collecting medical, not training at all, and then want to know why they weren't getting opportunities. So there's always going to be that bad guy thing. And I always say the people that came in that were knew me as Bill DeMott, the guy from Tough Enough. They came in with a preconceived notion of who I was, what I was going to do, and what they saw on TV. And so I say fairly, I never got the opportunity to coach a lot of people. I was always trying to defend myself against a lot of people. And that's on me. I'm a grown man. I could take it. And I've always said, if I could go back, I would have been friendly, but not friends. If that makes sense. But Deep South was a troubled child from day one. Bill Behrens was in on it early, and Bill had his resume of 90 million hours of television and production. He wanted to do things his way. He had his guys he liked. Jody Hamilton didn't like that way. I was always found in the middle of all this stuff. And before you get rid of the quarterback, you get rid of the coach. So that's why I say it was funny leaving Deep South, and they literally overnight. Now I was gone. I was removed before they moved to Tampa. Mm-hmm. So when they went to Tampa, they did it overnight. They didn't tell anybody else. They brought a truck in overnight. They emptied the building, and Jody Hamilton found out the next day when he got there, nothing was there. So they had Tom Pritchard lead it. So Tom replaced me for the last month or so in Atlanta. The funny thing was Tom was ahead of it before. I replaced Tom in OVW. I went to Deep South. Tom replaced me in Deep South. Tom went to Tampa. I replaced Tom in Tampa. Tom and I always followed each other, our whole career. And I learned a lot from Doc. I love Doc. I think the world of him. But we were always in that position. Doc was always in that same position too. He was in that position in Tampa. He had a way he was doing things, him and Steve Kern, but he had to answer now to Hunter, who was in charge, and Hunter wanted to go a certain way. Johnny was okay with the way it was going. It was very kumbaya. Lack of a better term, it was a boys club, very kumbaya, and Hunter wanted it to straighten up and, get it to where it was going. So we always found each other. We always crossed paths. I learned a lot from Doc. Utmost respect for all those guys. And I never took it personal because I knew my job. J.J. Dillon told me years earlier in WCW, he was the guy with the bullseye on his back. No matter what happened, he was the guy with the bad news. He was the guy who had to tell somebody something, and he was always going to be the jackass. So I'd always been prepared. Again, I was always smartened up, and Kevin would always drop that knowledge, and all those guys, Paulie, and so I was prepared. So it was not shocking to go back in 2011, and then blessed to become the head of the developmental, and then 5 years later, there comes the circle again. I'm gone. And then my wife was waiting 5 years. She goes, if they call you again, I'm like, it's the circle. She goes, well, what do you do if they call you? I said, I'm going to go back and coach. But it's a crazy ride, right? To sum it up in 30 years, that's really how the whole damn thing went.
Hunter was your boss in 2011?
Yep.
Yeah. How'd you like working with him?
Loved it. I never worked with him in the ring. I never really got to know Paul. We talked in passing, and he wasn't, he was, you knew he was the guy in the back. But as he got into more office stuff and started moving up, and when he sat and gave me his vision, and we sat and started having conversations, I already respected him. I knew him and knew who he was as a worker and stuff, and knew who he was behind the scenes as a leader in the locker room and stuff like that. But when I got to work with him, I really understood his vision. I understood my crazy dog scratching. But I knew how important it was for him. And to be the first person, when we met in Orlando, and it was, Bill, I want to show you this building. Tell me what you think. We went into this building. It was a warehouse that looked like crap. And him and I took our suit jackets off. We were walking measurements with our feet, and we were discussing. And so I was from the ground floor, from FCW becoming NXT into the performance center, to the whole thing. The guy has a tremendous mind. He loves the business. He loves everybody in the business, but he was very focused on how he wanted it done. And I've always been that. You tell me what you want, and that's what I'm going to give you. Now, there's a lot of obstacles that come with that. Right. So there's you have to learn to be the heater. And then he has to be the one to be the politician and come in kumbaya and okay, let's address it. And it was what it was. But the end result, so the ending, if we're being honest, when the internet exploded, because it was people, again, Deep South, Louisville, wherever you went, Cincinnati, there was always someone disgruntled. But now we have the internet, right? Now we have social media. And now when social media and the keyboard cowboys can jump in on something, I told Paul when I first went back, I'm not here to do anything but my job. I'm never going to do anything to insult your intelligence. I'm never going to do anything to embarrass you. As long as we understand that, I'm in. We understood it. And so when everything started to come about and all these rumors and allegations and everything, and Paul and I met, I looked at him and said, I told you, I'm not going to do anything to embarrass you or ruin what we've built. And so I resigned. And it was kind of like, would you like to talk about it? No, I don't want to talk about it. I have the utmost respect for Triple H, Paul Levesque. Utmost respect. There's a lot of people that worked underneath him that were dealing him dirt, that were really making his job difficult, which made my job difficult. But I enjoyed my time there. I enjoyed being, and I've kind of been erased from the NXT history and the Performance Center and stuff. But I'm proud when I watch their workouts, because that's all Bill DeMott stuff. That's my training camps. That's my schedules. That's my, the things that I helped build. So I was proud of it. And then people were, you've been doing this long enough. It's time for you to tell your side of the story. Here's my side of the story. I did my job. It's wrestling. I don't care if it's sports entertainment. I don't care if it's whatever they want to call it. If it goes back to being pro wrestlers, there's always going to be someone stirring the pot, and there's always going to be someone who wants to. And far and few have someone actually laid on the sword for the company. It's always been someone else's fault. I don't point fingers. I just say I did my job, and fortunately for NXT, a lot of stuff came out in the wash, and the people that were with Paul and doing these things, however it had to be found out, he got it straightened out, and things are what they are. But I love this business, man. I love it to this day, and I enjoy it, and I'm proud of everything I've done. Proud of everything I've done. But sometimes my wife and my oldest daughter, if you did it again, change one thing. No, I'm stupid. I'd take the same ride. I'd go through all the same heartaches. And the funny thing is, we all have stories like that. Different degrees of it, but we all have stories of it. We've all lived in a car. We've all fell on hard times. We've all doubted ourselves. We've all, I got to quit. I can't quit my family, So I don't have a new story. I have an interesting story. For someone who came out of Paramus High School, I became an internet darling really quick. And then more people than I would have liked, knew my name and passed judgment on me. But here's the complete circle. You went through it. I've been around you since the day you started, and Chris and a lot of the guys. And the thing that keeps me positive and keeps me blessed is, hopefully I had the best intentions. And the success you had, I took that as a success. Crowbar is a success. Tommy Fierro is a success. As long as, and I told everybody when they ever got signed, I'm like, if you're happy making the money you're making and doing what you're doing independently, do not come here, because you will not be happy. Something gets taken away from you. And as long as you succeed in what you want to do in life, that's all I care about. And it's cool to me because years later, still, someone that trained with me 10 years ago sends me a text message and goes, I got it. And then we talk, what do you mean you got it? He goes, it took me 6 years after I got released to figure out what you were talking about. And I got it. And they applied it to life. Like, I feel like that was what I was supposed to be doing. I teach you a little wrestling, teach you about the business, but life experience, get through life and be successful in whatever it is. And if I look at it, I got this many people who hate me and will go on the internet. And I have this many people that have been successful, and not because of me, but I was there for a little bit of it, and I got to, give something. So, and my mindset's changed as I get older. Everything's changed, and you realize what you did, what you got to accomplish, the things. Like I said, we're New Jersey boys. What was expected out of us? What were we going to do? People, wrestling, okay, get it out of your system. You just got back in the ring. We can't let it go because we love it. But so let me ask you this. In wrestling, all your years, has it helped you in life?
Absolutely.
I hope everybody has that experience and they come to that kumbaya moment of going, well, son of a bitch, maybe that's what it was about. And we got to play in the process. And we got to make some money, and we got to live our dream a little bit, But as long as we're successful, as long as you and I can have these conversations, as long as Crowbar can send me a text message at 2:00 in the morning going, I got an idea. I'm thinking, you're 40-something years old and you still got ideas. And I love the conversation as if we were sitting in Bob's gym in East Rutherford talking about wrestling again, or if we were on the road driving through an independent shop. To me, that's what it's still all about. And we leave every conversation the same. I'm like, you having fun? Family good? You feel good? If everything else is good, go do your thing, man.